Hi, it's Dr. Saira, and I want to talk to you today about inner balance, cultivating inner balance. This is actually one of the modules of, are you ready for it? Our practitioner training certification. So a few weeks ago, I told you about some big exciting news about how we have developed this new therapeutic modality at the Expansion Project. And this modality merges together energy and psychology. And it kind of normalizes the whole experience of who we are and helps us explore the cutting edge of consciousness. So beyond just survival, beyond just staying alive and being, okay, how do we live this expanded life? And so in that therapeutic modality, there are some principles and there are some axioms. And the axioms are kind of like these truths, these unwavering truths that that when we hear them, the mind can't always grasp these truths, but like our being is like, oh yeah, that's so true. So today I wanted to introduce you to one of these and without giving away everything. So those who are interested in our practitioner training course, it's going to be launched in September. We're really excited. It's open to anybody who works with people. So whether that's in the capacity of as a helping professional, a human services worker, if you're in the space of alternative medicine or energy work, if you are a coach. So, if you're kind of working with people and helping them navigate through the ups and downs of their experience, and you're ready to go beyond the trauma trenches, right? You're ready to go beyond just kind of problem solving, and your clients are looking to have these expanded experiences, these wow experiences, these day-to-day opportunities to stay in alignment. Then those are the practitioners we're looking for the people who are working with those types of people that are wanting to go beyond just wellness into expansion. So as part of this therapeutic modality, which I'm not going to name yet because we're still getting all the pieces in place for that. Not going to tell you the name yet, but eventually we will. Maybe I already told you. No, I don't think I did. Okay, it'll be a big reveal. We'll make it a big deal when we're finally ready to share the name. But for now, I want to share with you one of the axioms. And it's this. So see how this lands with you as I say it out loud, okay? Here we go. There is a rhythm to doing and being. There is a rhythm to doing and being. So my colleague Texas Peck, he is the first practitioner in this modality, and he's the one that we've kind of been modeling the whole methodology after. And this is something he says all the time. There is a rhythm to doing and being. And at first, when I heard that, as a doer, somebody who's very much in the go, 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 action oriented, that's kind of my vibe. I found it a bit unsettling because I was like, oh, what do you mean being? Like being lazy? Like, what do you mean by being? And I had to kind of spend some time with that concept and kind of feel into, what does that mean? There's a rhythm to doing and being. Because in the past, I would just do. I wouldn't really check in to see, is it right? Am I called? Am I inspired to this action? I would just, be going through my checklist and doing the to-do things. And a really, really simple example is dishes. Okay. And this is actually how Texas taught me. He talked about the dishes and how, when sometimes you have that pile of dishes in the sink and you're like, oh geez. And every time you walk by, it's like, oh. And then out of nowhere, we get a spark. Right. And then we get that spark and suddenly we do the thing and it's done. And it didn't take as long as we thought it would. It wasn't as tedious as we thought it would. We had energy to do it and we got it done. And so you've probably had a similar experience, right? With some sort of like tedious chore that you don't really want to do and you're thinking about it and you're thinking about it and it's dragging you down. But somehow you get a spark, and when you get that spark, you get it done. And it's actually not as bad as you thought it was going to be. So that's what we mean when we say there's a rhythm to doing and being, right? There's going to be these waves of energy that we get to engage in action. And then there's going to be times that we need to stop and actually just witness and wait and receive and stay open and rest, there's going to be those times as well. What's challenging is when the external world is asking for something of us and we're not actually lined up to that internal rhythm. So I'll give you a personal example. Right now is a time of a lot of doing for me, a lot of doing, a lot of action, a lot of tasks, a lot of meetings, a lot of documents that I'm looking through, a lot of planning, lots of activity, lots of doing. But last week, which was not that long ago, I didn't do much at all. I was hanging out with my sister at her place, and there was just a lot of like sitting around, chatting, casual conversations, just a lot of being. And in the past, my former self, my former, workaholic self would have called that laziness, right? Like, oh, well, you were on vacation, so you were just being lazy. But what I've started to realize is actually that time of being is really, really valuable because it's the rhythm, right? It's the way that our bodies work, right? We inhale and we exhale. We receive and then we give. We receive and then we give. And if we're always in the giving mode, if we're always in the doing mode, there's actually not a lot of room to receive. And what happens is we get depleted, right? We get depleted. We're trying to, from a contracted state, we're trying to give, and there's no, eventually we run out. We run out of energy. We run out of patience. We run out. However, when we're in an expanded state, when we're actually in alignment, and you can actually learn how to get into alignment really quickly by learning the presence protocol. So if you're interested in learning the presence protocol, at the end of this video, there's a website. That website will take you to, our website. That link will take you to our website where you will learn about the presence protocol. And there's a very simple kind of entry level $10 course, really easy to get into, that'll teach you this presence protocol, which is a predictable, repeatable, very simple method to get you right back into alignment. So when we're in alignment, when we're kind of clicked in and open, then energy can actually move through us. It's not coming from us, it's moving through us. And so we have a lot more capacity. But even then, we have to be careful not to get to tip too much into the doing. And following that inner kind of conversation that's happening, that when it's time to be, we just be. For those of us who are high achievers, for those of us who are ambitious, it can feel really uncomfortable to just be. And part of that is because we've kind of wrapped up our value in productivity, right? And achievement. And how do I contribute? And I noticed this when I first had children. A lot of my time when my babies were little was in being, like just being present with my children. And it was really uncomfortable because like, I mean, like hours would go by and we haven't really done anything. We're just kind of like playing and it was uncomfortable for me to be in that kind of, what are we actually doing here? What's the outcome of this? But what we know from the research is when children have really present parents, that's actually way more impactful in their quality of life, their capacity to learn, their sense of health and well-being, than having parents who are like uber productive and, maybe really achieving a lot, but aren't really present when they're around their kids. So you can do both, right? You can have the big life and have the ambition, but when we're interacting with our loved ones, are we really present? Are we able to be with them and not be doing? I had this one aunt. Oh, I just love her so much. And as she's got older, she's had to her body's slowing down. And so she's had to be a lot more. Before when we'd go to her house, she'd be like up in the kitchen and like pattering around and like preparing food and, tidying. And now when we go to her house, she just sits with us and we can have a conversation and I can get to know her in a completely different way. Right? And that being with that, and not only being with others, but also being with ourselves. Sometimes that can feel uncomfortable when we're just being in the presence of our own self. Be like, well, what am I actually doing here? And not stimulated, right? Not like with some input coming in, but just in the presence of our own self. For some of us, being will be like, I know for myself, every day I have a routine of spending some time where I just get to like, we might use the word unwind. I get to unwind, right? And for me, that's watching a show on Netflix and just enjoying that and unwinding. And that can also turn into something else if I don't keep checking in internally to like, am I done? Am I ready for bed? Right? If I don't do that, then suddenly I kind of get in this like zombie loop of that like spaced out. So I'm not present anymore. I'm just spaced out. And that's not it either, right? So the reason I wanted to share this concept with you of there's a rhythm to doing and being is to think about how that applies in your life, right? Are you someone who tends to be more comfortable in the being? And then when tasks and activities come up, you get like overwhelmed and flustered. Are you somebody who, is fine with the go, 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 but when it comes time to just be, you feel really uncomfortable? Or some combination of the two? And the trick or I guess the shortcut is to come back to alignment and really check in. What is it that I'm called for right now? So something as simple as, do I do the laundry now or do I wait? Do I do the dishes now or do I wait? Do I pick up the phone and engage with this loved one now or do I wait? Do I take the action or is this a moment for me to be? And to keep internally asking ourselves that. Some of us don't trust the response that we're going to get because we haven't really cultivated a relationship with our intuitive knowing, right? We've kind of relied on our brain, our logical, linear, rational brain to instruct our life. And our logical, linear, rational brain is only one component of who we are. And it's based in, the survival, like keeping us alive. We need to stay alive. And so we have our conscious mind and our subconscious mind, which keeps us alive. But that's not all of who we are. When we can extend and expand into all of who we are, then we have access to that intuitive mind. We have access to that inner leading that shows us what's the next step. And it's hard to talk about if you're not experiencing it. And that's why I keep sending people back to the presence protocol, because that's where you can actually experience the sense of alignment and start to build that relationship with yourself so you know when it's time to act and it's time to be. It's time to do and it's time to be. So those are my thoughts for today. Hopefully that was helpful. Leave a comment to let us know kind of where you are on that spectrum. And follow us on Instagram, Facebook. Expansion Now is our handle there. And I will see you next time. Bye.